Well, good afternoon again and welcome back, Realty Pros. Today, we're going to continue our conversation about short sales. And we have Mr. Alan Weiner with us from Short Sale Servicing. Alan is dynamic. They've been our partners for many years, as we discussed last year. So he is a great resource for all things short sales, all of your questions. And as we dissected last week, Alan's going to talk to us even more about marketing for short sales, but he also gave us a lot of information as it pertains to the CARES Act and the provision of the CARES Act and how that's going to come down the pipeline to affect some potential homeowners. So we'll let Alan give us a brief recap, and then he's going to take us into marketing for short sales. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alan. Welcome back, Alan.
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for having me again. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who were here last week, I'm just going to give or weren't here last week, I'm going to give just a quick review about where we were and where things are going. So as Jasmine and I were just chatting before you all were admitted in, the market's just still a little crazy right now. So people are seeing offers of $50,000 and $75,000 and $100,000 over listing. So as a result, we're seeing properties that we thought were going to be short sales not being short sales because people are going to be able to get more money out of the property than they thought. We believe, and Jasmine just confirmed this, that that's probably going to end soon. And the reason we think that is because of the CARES Act is expiring. And the CARES Act was something that was put in by Congress, I guess it was Congress, yeah, that gave people gave basically a moratorium on making payments. It gave renters a break, and it gave homeowners a break. So that's about to end on June 30th. So anybody that has not made their payments for the last 18 months during the pandemic will have until on June 30th, will have to start figuring out their next step. Whether it's going to be writing a check for 18 months worth of payments, which we know that they're not going to be able to do, or working out a deal with their mortgage company to come up with a modification agreement. And if they're going to do a modification agreement, they're going to have to make 3 payments on time. So whether it's July, August, September, or August, September, October, they're going to have to make those 3 payments on time. And then the lender will add the 18 months to the back end of the mortgage. So if they owed $150,000, they're now going to owe $180,000. So, and then once they miss a payment, the loan becomes due and payable immediately. So there's no second chances for modifications at that point. So that's why we think in certain communities, we're going to start seeing defaults, and we're going to see, as a result, prices come down a little bit and short sales go up. One thing I didn't mention in the beginning is if you have any questions or anything at all, just feel free to either raise to start chatting or put it in the chat room, and I will answer your questions when I see them written down. Why did I get that? Okay, so we talked last week about what it is to be a short sale. Basically, the summary is being underwater and having some difficulty making your payments. And it can be a net number. It doesn't have to be. It's basically after closing costs. So if your property's worth 200 and you owe 210, if your property's worth 200 and you owe 190, you're probably still going to be a short sale because people in your office, in my office, in the county likes to be paid. So after you do the net sheet, you'd see that they're going to net, 180, even though they only owe 200 and you sold the property for 210, they're going to be a short sale. So one of the things we wanted to talk about today is how to find those short sale listings. And one of the great things about the state of Maryland, other than these great cicadas that are visiting us, is that we have what's called a notice of default. Notice of default is the first step in a foreclosure process. Not a lot of states have it, but the beauty in Maryland is anytime a lender wants to file a foreclosure, they first have to do what's called a notice of default. And that notice of default is, get ready for this, is public notice. So you and I can find out anybody whether we just want to be nosy and know how our neighbors are doing, or we're going to use it for marketing. And I suggest that we use that for marketing. And the way we do that is through the Bright system, the MLS. Has anybody, I know Jasmine and I have been through this a few times. Has anybody ever used Realty Track to come up with and find defaults? Okay, so if you haven't, I'm going to share my screen with you.
I have one.
Oh, you do? Okay, great.
Actually, I have 10, but I'll give you one address.
Okay.
Right. Get it.
Not only the address, I just was wondering if you ever did it.
Oh yeah, but I wanted you to tell me.
Okay, we'll come back to that. So let me hold that thought for just a minute.
I will.
So I'm going to share my screen, I believe. Let me see if I can do that. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Now we can see it beginning to share. Yes.
Okay, so you see the Zoom, you see the bright MLS screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through this and how you do it. So let me get back out of this for a minute. So the first thing you do is you click up here where it says search. And then you go to foreclosures. And it takes you to Realty Track. And then you're in the Realty Track. And you can make this as specific as you want or as general as you want. So I'm going to put in, for argument's sake, Upper Marlboro. So you put in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and you find out that there are, if you look across here, 75 pre-foreclosures, 3 auctions, and 4 bank-owned. I am just, for purposes of today, I'm going to unclick auctions, and I'm going to unclick bank-owned. So now we have 75 pre-foreclosures. Now, unfortunately, some of these are rather old. So that 75 is going to go back for a year or so. So I'm going to really focus on what's been added in the last month or two. So you see if you go down here, on December 31st, this was entered, and then nothing entered again until April 1st. So that's when things was a moratorium. So if you look from April 1st, April, May, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 properties were added since basically we started in this world again. And it's just starting. So let's click on, what I would do is, if I was marketing and trying to get short sale listings, I would click on the Ren Court and I'd view details. And if you go down here, you see it's a single family residence, and it's telling you it's in pre-foreclosure, which means, and this is really important, is that homeowner is in trouble. Homeowner has not made the payments, is not made an agreement with their lender, and foreclosure is coming. So we know that they're telling you even though what Jasmine's telling me, this might be wrong, but this program is telling me that the estimated value is $368,100. So, and they're telling us also that the total loans on the property are almost $390,000. So this person is upside down. Everybody see that? Okay. If you have any questions, please just holler. So this person, and we know the owner now also, by the way, is Tyrone and Charlene Washington. So that means that on April 29th, Charlene and Tyrone got a letter from their lender saying, you have 60 days to pay. If you don't pay, we are coming after you and it will begin foreclosure. So if you're Tyrone and Charlene, what are your options? Well, you can't refinance because you owe more than the property's worth. So even if you, so to get 387,000 out of that sale, you'd have to sell the property for almost $420,000. Now, based on what Jasmine's telling me, that might be possible. I just don't know. But if you can't sell that property for 420, that means there's not enough money for Mr. and Mrs. Washington to sell the property and pay off their lenders. And that doesn't even include if there's other liens or judgments against the property, which I would check before you guys went on your listing appointment. So we now know that Mr. and Mrs. Washington are upside down, that they're in they're in pre-foreclosure, and that they need to do something. So what are their options? Again, but they're not going to be able to refinance. They can try to work out a modification plan with their lender, but if they do that, they're basically putting good money after bad money because they're in a really hot market right now and they're still upside down. So my suggestion to them would be, hey, why not sell the property? You're going to get the most out of it you're ever going to get because the market's so hot. So why not sell the property? Let us find you a rental, clean up your credit, get yourself in gear, and in 2 years we can buy another property. Now that would be a rational thing for someone to do. Now I can't tell you whether Mr. and Mrs. Washington are rational or even going to be able to focus on this. One second. So I'm sorry. So if they did that, one second, I'm sorry. So my suggestion would be to reach out to Mr. and Mrs. Washington and tell them, you know, here's what we do. Now, if that's the case, my office has developed, my partner used to own an exit franchise in Nevada. And when short sales first started, he hired a marketing company to come up with a marketing plan. And basically what he came up with was a 3-pronged marketing letter that Jasmine has, but I'll certainly send it to you again. And if anybody asks me, you know, you can email me or I can send it to Jasmine and she can distribute it.
It's in our BrokerMint library.
Oh, okay. So basically it's a 3-pronged letter, or it's 3 letters that go out. They're written in a font that looks like it's handwritten. So it looks a little bit more personal. And the first one says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Washington, I'm sorry you're going through this. We can help. It doesn't say we want to list your property. It doesn't say I'm going to move you. It just says, man, you guys are going through some tough times. Good things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. I'm sorry you're going through this. I myself have been in financial distress at some point or another. So I know what you're going through. Let me see if I can help you. I'm sorry, somebody just texted me something. Sorry, 1 second. So you're saying, let me see if we can help you. Now we suggest, and you'll see that in the marketing platform that Jasmine has for you, that you send it out in something unusual. I'm going to show you what I use. Well, you can't see because I would send it out in either a pink or a yellow or a blue or something unusual. And the way that does is it gets people to recognize you when you're a little odd, and they're going to realize you're someone that it's something unusual in their mail, not just a little postcard, and not just, you know, a gray or white envelope, something they haven't seen before. And that first letter is going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Washington, we're here to help you. We're not necessarily looking to make money off of you, but we think we have some options for you. Any questions about any of that so far? Nothing? Am I just doing that good of a job?
Yes, Alan.
Okay, Jasmine. Okay, so a week or so is going to, and the letter is going to end with saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Washington, please give me a call. Now, they're probably not going to call you. So 7 or 8 days later, or 5 or 7 days later, we send out a second letter. And the second letter, we put in there, and we suggest you put something that's going to grab their attention. Believe it or not, we use a little rope, little piece of string that we put in there that you can buy at a hardware store for $2. And it's a roll of string that we put in there, and it allows people to feel that there's something in the letter. And if nothing else, it's intriguing, and they'll cause them to open it. And again, it's going to send out in that same pink or yellow or orange letter. And this letter is going to say, hey, Mrs. Washington, I put a piece of rope in here because twofold. I knew you would open it if you felt the rope. And secondly, the old adage that if you tie a piece of rope around your finger, it'll cause you to call me. And I want you to call me because I can help you. And now it's another 2 weeks have gone by and you still haven't done anything. And I can assure you this Bank of America is not going to let up. They're still coming after you. So call me. They may or may not call you. Another 5 days or 6 days go by. And then we suggest you send out a third letter. The third letter, again, is going to be in that orange or yellow colors. And you're now going to be known as the crazy orange lady. And they're going to get this. And we suggest, and you may not want to do this, we suggest you put a toy watch in there. Toy watch. They cost about $1 to buy, and you can buy them on any websites. And not a working watch, just a toy watch. And again, they're going to feel them, and they're going to be intrigued, and they're going to open it. And secondly, the letter is going to say, I put a watch in here because time is ticking. Mr. and Mrs. Washington, this thing was filed April 29th. It's now June 15th or 30th. You're 2 months into this. They're coming after you. Bank of America is now pursuing it. So, and by then you may even be able to, if you ask me, I may be able to check and see if there's a lawsuit filed, which means the foreclosure's already started. Because remember, the thing that we see on our screen, it just means pre-foreclosure. So that third letter is going to say, time's ticking. Bank of America is not quitting on you. They're coming after you. And we need to do something. And I'm here to help you. And coincidentally, Mrs. Washington, I am going to be in your neighborhood Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm going to stop by. Now, one of two things will happen. They'll see that, and that will cause them to call you to say, don't come by. I'm not going to be there. I'm at my son's soccer game, or I don't want to talk to you. Or they won't do anything. And Saturday at 1 o'clock, you need to go to their house and knock on their door and say, hey, Mrs. Washington, I am that crazy orange lady. Let's talk. And if you're going to do that, you're going to call me in advance, and you're going to give me the address you're going to, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about that property, from how many liens are on it, how long they've owned it, what the status of the foreclosure is, if they've ever refinanced, and you can do your own marketing report to know what it's worth. So at that point, and obviously you're not going to know what the property is like inside. So at that point, you're going to go to their house. You're going to have everything you need to know. Now, you're not going there entirely to get the listing, even though that's your ultimate goal. You're going there to say, geez, this is a beautiful home. What can we do to help you? So the options are, we can do a modification, but we don't think the lender is going to do it because you're upside down. Or can you afford the property? Have you tried a modification? No, my husband's lost his job. My hours have been cut back. We've got some illness. We've got some child bills. So we really don't have the option. So we need to get busy, Mrs. Washington. I want to sell your property for you. I want to help you get out of here. I want to help you get your credit cleaned up, and I want to help you find another property. So now you've gotten, if you get the listing, you're also going to get the rental. So you've gotten two properties from two opportunities to make money from them. Now, it's labor intensive. It takes time. It takes commitment. And that's just one property we're talking about. Okay? Any questions about any of that? Okay. So that was what Mr. and Mrs. Washington's property look at. Now, the other thing I will tell you, they already have, if you look down here, they already have a law firm involved. So that means this thing is they've been in default for a substantial amount of time. They are long in default. So let's go look at another one. We're still in Upper Marlboro. And let's look at this next, Bennington Road. Now, Bennington Road, we see that it's again pre-foreclosure. Now, this one's giving us an estimated value of $411,000 and loans of about 343. So if it's sold for 411, you would net maybe $20,000 if it's sold for that full amount. Now, we don't know what condition the property's in, so maybe it sells for more or less than 411. So that would be one that you may or may not want to pursue. Let's go to the next one. Bishop Claggett, 369 value. Value is 410, and they owe 367. So this one basically would probably end up being a short sale unless you sold it for over 411. And again, I don't know what the value is. Now, the other thing is when they're giving you these estimated loan amount that's due, that may not include all of the arrearage because these people haven't paid for 6 or 9 or 18 months. So on a 300, that's another 2,500 a month being added. That's another $30,000 being added. So anything that close, I would suggest that they are probably upside down. And we know the owner there is David and Terry White. You see that right here. And they even tells you the lender. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Nova Star Lender, mortgage lending. So then we go down, let's do one more. Let me find a good one here. West. Okay, so this is West Grove, I guess it is, in Upper Marlboro. You all probably know where these are more than I do. But it's a 2-bedroom, I'm sorry, it doesn't tell you. It's a 2-bath property, recorded in April. And they owe $236,000 on a property that's worth around $243,000. So if it's sold for $245,000, the most they're going to net is $225,000. So as a result, Miss Christina Jackson here is upside down and needs to do a short sale because she has no other options. And Wells Fargo is her lender, so they're coming after her. Okay, so that's how I would start my marketing. Let me just let's pick another community just to see what, let's pick, is Bowie a good option, Jasmine?
Yes, it is.
All right, so let's look at, I typed in Bowie, let's look at Bowie. Again, I'm going to unclick the auctions and unclick the bank owned. So we know that there's 59 pre-foreclosures there. And so Norwalk Court, God, that sounds familiar. This is, okay, now you can see that this is a townhouse that is worth around $291 and they owe $287,000. The owner is Judith Marana, and the lender is NR Bank, and she better get busy because they're coming after her. So you can go as small, or you can put in a neighborhood, a street, a town, a county, or even, I think you might even be able to put the state of Maryland in. Maybe not. Oops. I don't think you can put in Maryland. So you can put in like Prince George's County. And if you put in Prince George's County, again, unclick the auctions, unclick bank owned. and you see that there's 512. Now, some of them might be really old, but I mean, the first 2 or 3 pages are within the last month. So that's how I would start. And I'd start sending the letters out that I gave you. I'd make calls. I'd see if I can find phone numbers. Jasmine and I have talked about, Jasmine and I talked about, the opportunity of maybe hiring a clerk or an intern to do this stuff. That's how I would start. The other thing I wanted to show you, and then we'll come back to any questions, is I would get out of Realty Track for a minute if I can. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. One second. I want to get out of Realty Track. I want to show you something. I'm sorry.
Maybe click right.
It's taking me. Let me just get out of it and start over. I want to get out of Realty Track. Okay, so search, and I go to residential sales search. Are you still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you go down here to short sales, I went under legal and then go to short sales. And then I click on the matches. And if you search them by, there's a lot of properties on here. Let me do this for a second. There's a lot of properties on here that are really old. Now, I'm not sure if they've, what's happened. Like for instance, this is a property, well, let me see if I can find something more relevant. Give me 1 second. Okay, here's a property. It was listed as a short sale in October. So I assume it's an expired listing. I don't know why it would still be up there, but it's a short sale. So that may be an opportunity if you go under short sales and start looking and seeing properties that have expired, that are 6 months, 8 months old. I was amazed at how many are up there still listed that are 8 months old. Maybe Jasmine, maybe you have an understanding of why that would be.
It could still be in the short sale process.
But it's not even showing, wouldn't it show under contract?
Yeah, it would show under contract. Let's look and see what it says down at the bottom. We'd have to look at the history to see if it's been on and off the market.
Well, anyway, you guys can do that, but I think that's another opportunity to find some listings that have expired or are not being worked by the agent. Certainly if and there are properties on here that are 2 years old that really just, here's one from well, that's New Jersey, but here, Prince George's County, 28th Parkway. It's from October of 19. 2 years old, almost 2 years old. So I don't know what the status is, but it would certainly be, if I was interested, I would certainly do some research on this property and see what's going on. And I might reach out to the homeowner and say, hey, your realtor, Chris, has had this for 2 years. Nothing's been done. In the meantime, your credit's a year worse. You owe a year more than you started. You're way underwater. Maybe we can help you. Let me talk to you. that make sense? Okay. Any questions about that?
I do have a question.
Yeah,
If you're reaching out to properties that are supposedly to owners who already have a relationship with another realtor, is I suppose you could check to see if they're expired and then approach them, but should you approach them if the contract has not been expired?
No, you shouldn't. It has to be expired, Dee.
That's what I thought. Okay,
So-
thank you.
I'm looking in this. Would the listing agreement be in the forms?
So the expiration date would be at the bottom on Matrix, and everybody should know where to find that. The copy of the listing agreement wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I'm
But-
looking at it right now. So like this particular listing agreement, no, it's not there. So where, you're saying it's, so where would the expiration be?
At the bottom. So scroll on down right in that section, so it'll
Listing term
show.
begins October 19th.
And then you should see the expiration date or when it ends.
It doesn't say, it just says listing entry date October 19th.
It's in there somewhere because once it ends, it's gonna be flagged as expired. And then that's what you guys will want to take a look at, the expired listings. So like Alan did, he pulled up the sale type of short sale. So you guys would take it just one step further. You would go to short sales, but you would go to expired short sales versus the ones that are active on the market.
So you can help me then. How would you do that?
Click on search,
Okay, so I'm going to go to search. Okay,
residential sale.
yeah,
And then on residential sale, you see where, hold on, scroll up just a little bit. Yes, so up where you see the check boxes, the boxes on the left at the top of the screen,
yeah,
to the left.
expired.
Click on expired and then come down
And
to,
then go to short sales.
yes. You got it.
Oh, and you get 670 deals.
Yes, yes.
Oh my
Now-
goodness. So these are people, that have tried to do a short sale and for whatever reason it didn't work.
Yes, those are the ones that we can target.
Okay. So, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of them. Okay, well, we all have our work cut out. So you have to remember, a lot of these short sales expire a natural death because sellers get sick of it, realtors get sick of it, the banks don't approve it, but now the climate's changed. They might be able to do a short sale. They might be able to, maybe you can convince them that you can be the one that can get them to the finish line with you and I partnering together. So that's something I'm going to I didn't even know that existed. I'm going to be pursuing those. And try to reach out to some of these people and say, hey, you didn't get to the finish line now, but now with, Jasmine and her team, we can get you to the finish line. So I'm going to do some focusing on those. In the meantime, I strongly suggest you going through Realty Track, playing around with it, seeing some of the properties, picking an area you're comfortable with, and start doing some marketing. I mean, I wouldn't do 100, pick 10 and see what kind of results you get. Anthony, Jasmine said you had a scenario you wanted to run by me.
Yes, his scenario is a foreclosure or pre-foreclosure scenario versus a short sale scenario. Before we get to that, I wanted to ask a couple questions just for the sake of understanding of our agents. And if you guys have some questions that you've thought about, of course, unmute yourselves or put it in the chat. The first one that I want to make sure that everybody is clear on, Alan, if you could answer, how much time in advance of the sale date do we need to provide all the documents to you? So in the event that there's a sale date that's already been established, how much time do you guys need?
Okay, so generally the lender is gonna want at least 30 days.
Okay.
We want a complete package at least 30 days. If it's less than 30 days, probably too late. No, maybe not, but generally it's too late. The option at that point would be to have the seller do a bankruptcy. That would stop the sale. There's ways that they can do basically a very simple bankruptcy. I tell them to go to the Greenbelt Courthouse, go to the clerk, say you want to file a bankruptcy. They fill out basically name, address, social security number, and submit it, and don't have to pay any fee. That will basically give you a date that the bankruptcy is filed, and it will stop the foreclosure. At the same point, the court will then say, okay, if you want to go forward with this bankruptcy, you have 30 days to get us our fee, the bankruptcy fee, and to get us all the rest of the documents. At that point, you can let it die a natural death because they've already stopped the foreclosure. So that's one way to do it without having to pay a lawyer $2,000 or $3,000 to get it done. So, but in answer to Jasmine's good question, it's if they have a sale date within 30 days, it's probably getting too late. Now, a lot of these people, if you ever visit their home, you might see on their counter, green certified letters that they've never opened. And those letters are going to say, we're foreclosing, and they just don't open them. So, and they're scared. They're frightened of the lender. So as they should be, but they don't need to be as frightened as they think. We are here to keep them calm, let them know that they have options, let them know that Big Brother in the ivory tower in New York or Texas, wherever they might be, is not going to come take their house tomorrow. We have time to make this work.
Perfect. That's excellent. Next question for you. At what point in the short sale does the bank stop the foreclosure proceedings?
When we get really close to the auction date, if it's still going on, if we're far along in the short sale, the lender will postpone it at that point. Generally, though, they're going to keep going. So let's assume we started a short sale today, and there's an auction date of August 21st. I'm not going to really worry about that yet, but by around August 1st, if we've been doing in good faith working towards the short sale, at that point we will ask the lender to postpone. But they're not going to postpone yet because they don't want to start re-advertising it, knowing that Mrs. Jones may not even move forward. She just might, we just don't know. But once they get a full package from us, that's when they'll be willing to stop the auction.
Great information too. Another question, how much time do buyers normally have from the time that they get a notice of default until the auction? Is there a standard amount of time? Is it per bank?
It's per bank, but so that first letter, you have 62 days to do something. After that, they can refer to their attorney in theory, the attorney could start tomorrow, but it's probably going to be another 60 days from there, and then another 6 months from there. So I would say in the best case scenario, they probably have a year. In the worst case scenario, it's a year. In best case, it might be 2 years. They're not moving very quickly. Now, we have not talked about DC. You guys do some DC work, right?
Yes, Maryland, DC, and Virginia.
Okay, let me talk about DC for just a moment. DC does not have this notice of default provision. What they do is that anybody that wants to foreclose has to immediately file a case in the Superior Court of District of Columbia, and you as a homeowner are entitled to a hearing. Now, if anybody knows anything about DC, the chances of someone getting thrown out of their home in DC are really slim. So it takes a long time in DC. And a lot of the people in DC that are going through this know how to play the game. So they're not making their mortgage payment. They're going to court. They're telling the judge they got problems. The judge is going to give them time. So there's a long opportunity to work with a seller and a homeowner in DC. very, very liberal courts in DC. Very homeowner friendly.
A question, please.
Yes.
Thank you for all the information, first of all, that you're sharing with us today. Going back to the realty tracker, you had mentioned that you would not, I guess you'd recommend kind of working with those that are the newer pre-foreclosure
Yeah.
that has been added. For what reason, I guess, would you not look at those older ones?
No, I probably would. I would start with the newer ones, but I would probably look at the older ones too. And the older ones, a lot of them are the pre-pandemic. So I just don't know what status they're in. They may have already cured their default. So they might have written a check or they might be on a modification plan. The newer ones I know are in default today. The old ones I just don't know. So you might be wasting your time in sending out letters or reaching out to them. But a lot of them, if it's October, November, December, January, or February, they may just been, nothing's happened because of the pandemic. So those would not be, and it's a very good question. Thank you for the question. They would not be a waste of your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. I want to go ahead and give Anthony a chance to ask his question. It's about a pre-foreclosure situation for
Okay.
case study.
Hey, Alan, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up?
So, just to cut to the chase, basically, I'm one of the 75 in Upper Marlboro with a home currently being foreclosed on, and I kind of wanted to, I guess, bring my situation to light to see maybe how it could benefit some of my colleagues. But I think everything that you've explained thus far, even myself, like I've avoided it. And so I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, personally, like kind of like what my options are based off the loan that I have and, where it's at.
Okay. So the first thing I would tell you, and Anthony, I'm so sorry you're going through this situation, and hopefully you'll come out stronger on the other end. I'm sure you'll come out stronger on the other end. But in the short term, look, and again, if you want to call me privately, we can talk privately. But I'll ask you.
I don't have whatever you want to ask me. I don't have a problem answering in front of everybody.
Well, good for you. So what kind of loan is it? Is it conventional or FHA?
So I have an FHA. It's a VA home loan.
Wait, an FHA and VA are two different things.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I have a VA home loan.
You have a VA loan. Okay.
Yes.
So you use your VA benefits?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, and do you have equity in the property?
I would assume so. I mean, right now, the market value of the home is roughly like 505. I paid $320 for the property. I bought it on short sale. So I know the payoff amount is back up to 306. I haven't made a payment on the home since June of 2019.
Okay, so you think you could sell for 505. So again,
Well,
I'm gonna ask you this question: can you afford the payment?
So this is the biggest. Like I'm going through a divorce right now. I've been going through a divorce for 2 years. Once I just finally went to court last week, and so going forward, yes, I would, once the court situation and the trial is over in August, going forward, yes, I would be able to make the payments once we split up marital assets and things of that nature. So my I don't know if you're getting to this question, but my hope would be to keep the home.
Okay, and are you going to have to? Is the home going to come to you and as part of the settlement?
Honestly, that's unknown right now.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
that is something that I will be requesting to get family use of the home. Yes.
Okay. So if your income qualifies and other than your situation with the loan, if your credit's pretty good, other than what's going on with the house, obviously, you may be able to refinance it. You may be able to refinance it because you've got substantial equity in it.
Right, but I think I guess refinancing would be different than pulling equity out, because I guess that's essentially what you're explaining, correct?
Well, I'm not necessarily suggesting you pull equity out. I'm just suggesting you
Well,
get
no,
out from under this loan and start over.
Right. So under the VA mortgage, I know that you can't pull any money out on what
Right.
you've paid. So I guess the option to refinance, the home is currently in an ARM, so it probably would be a smarter move to refinance into.
Yeah, I would just do a conventional or FHA loan if you can. I would talk to one of your partner lenders, tell them what's going on, and see if in August, when the property is hopefully awarded to you, or you can, work out an agreement to buy out your ex, or she can phase it over to you, if you can refinance. Other than that, since there is equity in the property, I would sell it. I mean, and if I'm your ex, and if I was representing your ex, I'm gonna want, there's $200,000 in equity in the property. I want my 100 grand. So that's what you're gonna be dealing with.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, she's not. I mean, that's kind of why I'm in this position now, because we're at a stalemate, and the house essentially is the least of our worries.
Okay. Well,
or I would say it's the least of her worries at the end of the day. But yeah, we're not going to come to an agreement about selling the house. So that's not even an
Anthony,
option.
I mean, depending on how far along you are in the process, they're going to foreclose soon. I mean, they're going to, if you're 2 years behind, they're going to foreclose, and you're going to lose, you're going to lose a lot of equity. So, I would get if you have divorce lawyers, I would get them talking, because once there's an auction date scheduled, you're not going to be able to stop the train from going through the station, and you're going to be screwed, and you're going to lose, because they're not, they're going to sell it at an auction for less than the value. And if they give you if you get anything out of it, it's going to be substantially less than you're owed. So I'd either refinance it based on whatever income you have, and get your ex to get the divorce lawyers on the same page to that, or I'd get it sold. But you do not want this to go to auction, because you're going to lose a lot of money. And it's coming.
Okay.
If you're one of those 75 properties, it's coming. And
so I know that the mortgage was held by Wells Fargo, and then they just gave it over to, I don't even know the name of this. I mean, I sent Jasmine a copy of
the Shell Point.
It's called like Rushmore or something.
Rushmore. Okay. So Rushmore is one of these lenders that buys defaulting loans.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably paid, 75 cents or 60 cents on the dollar. So Wells Fargo said, we just want to be done with Anthony in this mess. So give us $200,000, and you go chase after him.
So, I mean, could I start paying them, or what about this money that I owed Wells Fargo? I mean, what if I started picking up now and paying them, or are they still trying to collect the $50,000 that I haven't paid over the last 2 years?
Yeah, they're still trying to collect the 50 grand, but the number one thing you can do, Anthony, is get proactive. I would call the new lender immediately. And if you want me to help you, I would be glad to be on the call with you. And you call them and you say, hey, I've been going through this domestic situation. We're still not settled. We're still fighting over it, but I want to try to do what I can to keep the house. I have a good income. I can afford the payments. Can we add there's plenty of equity in the property. Can we add the 50 grand to the back end? And I'll start paying you the 3 grand a month, whatever it is, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you would be willing to be on the call, I would
Absolutely
really appreciate that.
Yeah, do me a favor. If you or Jasmine have the the information from the new lender, send it over to me, and then I'll reach out to you, Anthony. We'll schedule a call.
Okay, great. I
We'll do
appreciate that.
We'll get you
Alan.
through this.
I
We can't
appreciate
let
it.
that happen. Okay?
Okay, I
Anybody have
appreciate
any
it.
questions?
Alan, you are
Anthony, I'll-
awesome.
I'll look forward
Thank
to
you
hearing
for
from
that. I
you.
appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, thank you, everybody. We're gonna do another one of these on the CARES Act, the expiration of the CARES Act. I don't know if we have a date yet, but we'll figure that out. Jasmine, we never did get together. I was busy meeting with two of your other colleagues last week when you wanted to meet on Wednesday with Coy and George.
Okay.
That's an interesting group. Okay, so reach out to me with any questions and we'll go from there. And I really, really push you guys to do the marketing we just talked about. I think it'll work. And Anthony, reach out to me and we'll go from there. Jasmine, as always, it's a pleasure. You guys are in great hands. Thank you, and everybody stay safe.
Likewise. And we
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Alan. Oh, he's gone.
Yes, he's got.
Have a great
You guys are
day.
awesome. So Anthony, you go ahead and reach out to him. I did just forward that information on over. I'm gonna go ahead and stop our recording and we will pick back up on next Thursday. If you guys need anything, just let me know. Thanks again for carving out time during your busy day to get this training and get this information. It's gonna be most valuable for you when you apply it. It really works. Like we say with regards to everything else, it's seed time and harvest. So you gotta continue to mail the letters, do the marketing, plant those seeds, and allow the time that it needs to grow, and you guys will reap a reward. You will absolutely reap a harvest on it, okay? So I will see you guys same time, same place, next Thursday. If you need me, give me a call, all right?
Thanks.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Jasmine. You too.
Thank you.